What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the He Said, She Said podcast. This is Nina Marie. So today we are going to talk about all the church now.
Options of you.
I
I'm trying to pray.
Oh, it's been a minute since.
It's been a minute.
So, I don't know about y'all, but I know as for me in my house, I'm sick of church. Just sick of it. Okay, I don't want to say I'm sick, but like I am at a season in my life where I am just kind of sick of the church. How do you say this? The church culture. About that. I'm sick of the church culture.
This is a deep topic, because for me, I don't want to say I think I'm sick of the church, the people that are representing the church. I wouldn't necessarily say the culture.
We have different things. So then let's unpack that. What do you mean when you say you're?
I think there's a perception that people have kind of put it like this. I think there's a difference between people of God and the church. And a lot of times I think we just classify all this together, like it's the church fault. It's the church. Mm-hmm. It's the church reason why this pastor is, or these people are acting like it's the people, And the reason I felt like I wanted to do this episode is because I know a lot of people who I talk to on a regular basis who are all churched out. But through conversation, I realized that a lot of them aren't necessarily churched out. It's just they're peopled out.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, I have a different perspective. I feel like, the church is us. The church is the people. And so technically, if you are peopled out, you are churched out. And that's okay. I think that taking it from my experience and just my personal journey and walk with Christ is that, if you need to take a break from church, that probably means that you just need to spend more time with God, and that's okay. I think the pressures of American church culture is that you're supposed to go to church every Sunday, go to Bible study every Wednesday, and although those are beneficial rule of thumbs to apply to your life, and it can be very helpful to the walk of a Christian and whatnot, it doesn't work for everybody, and that's okay. And it's not a law that you have to go to church every Sunday, go to Bible study every Wednesday. There are times where God will lead you into a quote-unquote wilderness season so that you and him can commune together, so that you and him can, you can figure out his voice, you can understand when he's talking to you, so that you and him can ultimately become more closer. And, I saw this post online on Instagram, and it was talking about, like, people aren't necessarily over Christianity. They're over the systems, that have been put in place that run the Christianity, and it's not enough relationship driven. It's a lot of rules, a lot of regulations, a lot of can't do this, can't do that, versus like developing an authentic, real relationship with God where he does life with you. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's kind of where I'm at, is I just want to know God for myself in my real life, apart from, what I have been shown it's supposed to look like. This is what it looks like for me. I can't look like that person over there. Can't look like Cody, but this is what doing life with God looks like for me in my walk. So that's just kind of, my 2 cents on my issue.
Yeah. My I guess I think it's the bigger thing is you have to have that is important. Finding your authentic self with God. And I think when you do that, then you don't look at the situation like church is the issue.
Yeah.
You're able to identify like, okay, well, I can't go here because this is what the bigger issue is, not necessarily the church. You don't become so dependent on the church. Dependent on God.
Yeah. And there's an element of, for me anyways, there's been an element of freedom. If anybody knows me, I am a free spirit. I enjoy, being able to operate in my freedoms in Christ. And so I don't want to be told when I have to go to a building or when I have to worship with God. A lot of the things that I've learned from just my own personal, walk with Christ is that the pressures that I felt in church, He don't even put that on me. Like when I started to get closer to God for myself, the pressures that I felt inside of a building, God don't even put that much pressure on me to do that with people. And it's like, it's been such a relief, honestly. It's been a relief to not have this peer pressure of, gotta raise my hands and I gotta look a certain way, or I gotta act a certain way, or I gotta talk like this, and it's like, I could just be myself. Like, I'll even get even more transparent. There have been times where I got so frustrated with God, I cursed Him out. Sure did. Cursed His ass right out. Okay. And I'll never forget Him whispering to me while I was at work. He was like, and I'm gonna paraphrase. I don't remember verbatim, but I just remember Him saying that I can handle you. Like, and what that meant was I can handle all of you. I can handle your good and your bad. Don't just bring, the good parts. Because I feel like that's what being raised in church prepped me to be like. I have to look my best, act my best in the house of the Lord. And God just kind of broke that down, and He said, bring me your worst. I can handle that. Bring me your worst, and I can walk with you even through that. And that was such a relief that I didn't have to, always say and do the right thing, even when I'm communing with the Father, just personally in our day-to-day time. I could be ugly, and then He would help me to unpack why I'm acting this way or being this way. And a lot of times I got patience, I got compassion, I got understanding, I got time to process my thoughts, I got time to process how I feel. It was a judge-free zone. Now the judgment that I did receive was from myself, was from, the voice of the enemy. But when it came to God, whenever He was talking to me, a lot of times it was always to redirect me or to help me to understand I am here and I love you still, and I'm going to help you to understand why you are the way that you are, and I want to help you to heal. So it's been very monumental, and I don't feel, and then one more thing that He also said, he said, your resistance is welcome. And I applied that to a lot of areas in my life. And in this particular context, I said, I don't feel like going back to church right now. I'm not ready. And so I didn't pressure myself to go back to church, and so that doesn't mean that I'll never visit. There are times where I talk to Cody and, I'm like, hey, I want to go worship or whatever. And sometimes I go, sometimes I don't go. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't feel this overwhelming burden of you need to go back, but I do know that at some point he'll help me to go back because that's something that he has put inside of my heart to do. When, I don't know, but I don't feel pressured to,
For me, I'm here, there, church.
Yeah.
I say that to say, like, with me having my own personal relationship with God, there's times where God is like, go to church, hey, go to that church, and I'll go. Yeah. And I thank God for that level of understanding and discernment to the point where I know when God says go.
Yeah.
Or I know when God says go there. Because I'm rich. I've been to some churches where I'm like, all right, this is definitely not of God. And I didn't want your pastor like,
I need to get the hell about
it. Off me. Get up off me. But I've also been to, I've had experiences where, I don't think I've ever been to a church where, and maybe it's because God has kind of always led me to the right place. But I've never had a situation where I feel like I needed to lift my hands because somebody was telling me to do it. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was a church I was going to where they weren't custom of worship. Mm-hmm. Like I'm like pastor can preach all he wants, and I'm gonna be over here getting what I need.
Right. Right.
And they look at me like I was crazy. I'm like, I'm gonna be all myself. Let me get mine.
But you have been blessed to have your own relationship with God for you to do that. I think you have a lot of people who are dependent on the worship leaders to tell them to do that and all that stuff. I've never experienced where I was so dependent on a leader, mm-hmm. or a certain worship setting. I have worshipers in my car and I'm good. You know what I mean? Like I don't need that. Yeah. I love my pastor to death. I call him to give me what I need, but I don't want to say I don't need them, but I'm not dependent on them. When it comes to your relationship with God. Yeah.
When it comes to getting the word.
Yeah.
I don't have to go mop their floors, just to say I did something for pastor today, mm-hmm. I don't have to do that, there are times where I will, if I'm led to bless them, I will, or led to call them and have a conversation, I will, well, then they be making me have a conversation. Well, yeah, boy, what you got going on? I feel you in the spirit, So I appreciate that, but I guess I encourage people to have their own, and I'm going to say it too, I think that it has to be a moment in your life where you become churched out in order for you to have that authentic relationship with God. It was 2 or 3 years where I was all churched out. Out of church. I had seen so much in the church that I was like, you know what? These niggas.
His mother.
These niggas hell, Still up here sitting in the presence of God. God is all up in here. You still over there doing what it is you do.
I mean, I think for me, it was not the fact that people were necessarily sinning. I kind of came to that conclusion that, hey, we're all going to sin. We're all going to fuck up at times. I think that what did it for me is not having a safe space to sin, not having a safe space to be transparent enough to say that I struggle, or.
But I think that's brought upon the individual or the settings of people feeling like they're above sin. Their title may be above sin. Well, I'm a pastor, so I don't sin.
Yeah. But see that starts from the culture that is cultivated in that church.
I disagree. I think
if you have people around you, because peer pressure is a motherfucker. Like if you have a group that is like, oh well, we don't ever sin, and if that's all you're around, then yeah, it's gonna like transform your mind to think that you can't, come to God with your brokenness, or you can't even be around your community with your brokenness because everybody is acting like they shit don't stink or whatever.
Yeah, I agree, but I also disagree. Okay. Because I think it's a personal decision. I was the church I was at, they were doing all kinds of stuff. you know, but they never allowed the congregation to see it.
Mm.
So when they can't see it, there's nothing they can do but keep supporting pastor, keep coming to church. But when you have allowed yourself to have a relationship with God to the point where you can, God allows you to see it, then it becomes, like, I can't live like this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be following somebody who feels like they're above their sin.
That's easy, and I'll say this, that is easier said than done, because I don't know why you have certain people that break away from the herd and whatever. I don't know. I don't know why. But what I can say is, when I finally got to a place where I was ready to risk it all for God, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to, follow my gut or follow my heart, because everything around you is telling you that this is wrong. If you follow, quote unquote, God, or really what they're saying is, if you follow the devil, because that's what they defined it as. They define what you were doing as you're following the devil. So it's like, if you don't have enough knowledge, then you're conflicted. And so it really was a level of faith. Like, it was a step of faith, to say, I don't know if I'm right, I don't know if I'm wrong, but I have this feeling that I need to go here. And then when I finally, just off of faith did it, I saw that, oh, that was God the whole time. You know what I'm saying? But how many people are too afraid to step out on faith?
I mean, I think for me, it's not, and I'm just speaking for personal experience.
Because everybody ain't you. Everybody don't have and the grace on your life, like, God speaks to you personally. God may not speak to everybody like that too.
Right.
So the your gift and your grace to hear God so easily, then you may not have that same grace for somebody else. So your confidence to do may be easier for somebody else.
And I'm gonna say this too, like, I don't want to make it seem like I'm just this. It's so God is always speaking to me, and I'm just like, oh, God, you said go this way, I'm gonna go this way. Oh, God, you said go this way, I'm gonna go this way. Because in that previous church, like, God literally spoke to me and told me to give my pastor work. And that was probably one of the hardest things I had to do. Because at one point, this was somebody who I looked up to, somebody who had been covering me in prayer, somebody who I looked at as like, oh, it can't be no wrong, this pastor, Oh, they can't do no wrong because they've been praying for me, And to come to him, especially what God had released for me to give him, that was the first part that was hard. But the second part, for that individual to not receive it, it made me question my relationship with God. Like, did God really say that? But that's why I stress again, like, make sure you have your own personal relationship with God, because when you don't, it's easy for you to be bamboozled, or I'm gonna just say churched, to the point where they put the veil over your eyes and you keep going.
Yeah.
So for me, my relationship with God was more valuable and authentic than my relationship with my pastor. And it made me realize, like, you know what, man, like, I'm sorry, but I know what God told me. And it wasn't me coming to him being arrogant, because I think, and I can't speak for him, but I feel like for him, it was more so like, who does he think he is? And I'm the pastor. I don't think it was that he didn't feel like I heard from God. He was like, who does he think he is? I'm the pastor. I'm the one that said sit down and stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't like, it wasn't me telling you to sit down and eat. You know what I'm saying? It was God. Like, and to me,
that shows his humility at the time. I think because he was not humble.
It wasn't humble at all, but I also think he felt like he was above his sin. Like, because he was pastor, that, I can do what I want to do, and all I'm going to do is just cover it up and pray about it. You know what I mean? And then I'm going to be good. But then I think he got so comfortable in it that it was like, God going to forgive me, so I'm going to pray about it and keep going. But then to me, when God intervenes and says, he's like, look, bro, it's your ass down.
Excuse me. I'm knocking on the door again.
I'm gonna send you Cody over here and give you a message to sit your ass
Sit your black ass down. Okay.
You know, because, God, like, I feel like God give you warning signs, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if God came and told me to sit my black ass down, I would sit my black ass down. Because I feel like he can do something. It's going to either expose me of what I'm doing, embarrass me, and you don't want, like, you don't want to be embarrassed by God. Sorry for needing embarrassment. You know, but God embarrassed you? No, man.
I mean, I think for my situation when it comes to, my relationship with God wasn't as strong as it is now. And I think that he had to cause, or he allowed some things to occur for me to make that decision too. Because it wasn't just, I can't say, oh, it was just all me. No, like, my relationships around me were starting to fail. So I felt like I had no other choice but to kind of choose, okay, I need to leave because I no longer feel comfortable or safe here at this church. So I feel like, I don't want to say, oh, it was all, me. No, like, God helped me to make the right decision too. But yes, it still was an act of faith because, I remember still being pressured to stay or whatever. But once again, if you're just the type of personality that I am, I'm like, nobody's talking to me anymore. I'm at this church and I feel like a lost sheep in this church. So it's like, why am I staying here? So I just said, you know what? I'm just going to go and hope for the best.
So you kind of felt like you were kind of out. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you know how people when you have like little kids and they give you the silent treatment, like that. Like I was excommunicated from like the inner circle of the church.
Right. So you really, like you said, you had no choice but to
Yeah, I mean that definitely helped me. It did, but my boyfriend at the time, who was kind of in relationship and fellowship with that church, he was like, he said he did a sermon about you need to stay, So there was a lot of variables. There are a lot of things that I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure if I should leave or go or stay or is this wrong, But either way, it worked out. It worked out.
And I kind of had a similar situation because later on, like I told you, I had the pastor preaching about me and this, about and I was like, talking about me,
right?
Like I knew I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I feel very offended right now.
Me right now.
Spit in your water, nigga.
Nah. Yeah, I mean, but one thing that I wanted to say too is I feel like being churched out was a blessing for me, and it can be a blessing, especially if it's God driven and God led, and like I said in the beginning, that there are times where God will lead you into the wilderness for your good. And it's your isolation isn't necessarily punishment. It's actually a setup for promotion. And when I say promotion, promotion, I mean, in your relationship and fellowship with God, it's so crazy because like, when I think about promotion, I don't always think about like monetary things or stuff like that. But in my isolation with God, I have been promoted, not just in knowing Him, but also in different areas of my life. So that's why I say being churched out has been a blessing for me because I've been blessed, from, church hurt and all that good stuff. It kind of led me into the arms of the Father, if anything. So.
Yeah, it's definitely been a blessing to me too because it definitely made my relationship more authentic.
Yes.
A lot of people always say, man, I wish I had the relationship you had with God, Cody. And I'm like, no, you don't. Cause
it's hard.
I talk to me, sometimes I don't want to drive 45 minutes to go to no church.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, that's the blessing that I see. Because to compare to where I was even on that level then, like I was offended when he said, when he was just didn't receive what I had released it. Whether it was good or bad, because to me it wasn't nothing bad because God just showed me like what He was actually doing.
Yeah.
God just said, sit down. So I started questioning my relationship. Like, is that really God?
Right.
But now I'm at a point where like, if God tell me listen to these Jakes, got something going on, I'm gonna listen to God.
But see, that's so good. What you just said. God cultivating confidence in His voice.
But I think that takes that leap of faith.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that picture that a lot of Black people have with the lady walking out on the water, and the hands are actually there. Mm-hmm. I've never seen that in a white person's house. Why? Why is that?
You asking the wrong damn person. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure y'all know why, because a Black woman in the picture. Like, yeah. But anyway, that's what it reminded me of, and realizing, like, even though that this is going to require a tremendous amount of faith for you to step out here, you still trust God.
Yeah.
And I feel like that even gives God the more reason to, I don't necessarily say bless you, but more reason to give you more of what He's already in you.
Right. So, given everything that we discussed, what is your take, or what do you want to give to the people?
I got it.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, I got a minute.
Okay. So, I think if anything, if I can, I guess, wrap this up for people out there, or just what to take from it, is that everything isn't always what it seems. And just because, a lot of people may not agree with what you're doing in regards to your relationship with Christ doesn't mean that it's not from God, and also taking that leap of faith could lead you to some places that is for your good and will bless you because you took the leap of faith. And I can say from my journey, I didn't completely just leave church altogether. I went from church to church, and I even had communities and whatnot. And during that time period of meeting different people, God gave me nuggets from each season and each group or whatever that I was a part of, and it was helpful. So I can't sit here and say that church hasn't been helpful to me, because God uses the church to help me. But what I can say is that in those times where I was isolated, or even just now where I'm not necessarily going at all, I still am connected, because I got my brother Decoide, I got my sister Brittany over there, and I got people in my life that are a part of the kingdom that I still lean on. And then I have my own relationship with God because of the experiences that I've gone through. So I guess I kind of want to be optimistic for those who may be dealing with church hurt, who may be struggling to figure out whatever season they're in. And I also want to say this: don't totally completely cut out the idea of church. I think that finding a community, whether that's in a building or whether that's in someone's apartment or in someone's house or whether that's at your job, the church is us. You know what I'm saying? And so if you're able to, fellowship with the body in any capacity, that's okay. It doesn't have to look like what you think it should.
No, I got something.